If you have my first thing is if you have a story to tell it. Somebody is going to pick up the book, right? And if you don't want anybody to read it, don't write it. Simple as that. Even if it's a sentence in the book where you're just like, oh, I should have not said that, or I'm just so angry and I need to put this sentence in there, right? It's like, well, if you don't want people to read it, don't read it. And one thing I'm actually doing as well, I have it at the middle school and the high school libraries, but I also reached out to the public library and asked them if I can do like a book signing or if I can donate my books to you guys, because I'm like, I was born and raised here, so it's only fair that the branch, has my books, because I'm not gonna go all around the county and be like, here's my book, where I feel like it's more special having that book here in my hometown.
Okay, welcome to Living the Next Chapter, a podcast for authors. And today I have someone who looks like she just came right off the field from playing football today, but we've taken her away from the game. Like, talk about commitment level here, people. I don't know if you understand how committed today's guest is to coming to recording. Everybody, be quiet. I'm going on a podcast. Don't cheer today. I have to focus. And today, Joyti is with me today. And Joyti is an author with many books. She's a wonderful person. You will know and love Joyti by the end of this episode, if you don't already have done so. Joyti, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I did not come off the field. I came from right downstairs.
Okay. All right. I just want to see. I didn't see you. Just at no point Gatorade is going to be dumped over your head during the podcast episode. Maybe? No. Okay. All right. No. We're good. Okay. All right. That's good.
Do you hear that?
Did they just... Oh, no. I do hear it. Check.
Oh, God.
You want to check? Go check. Seriously, go check.
No. I'm not going to leave the podcast. It's okay. I'm just saying, like, do you hear how crazy it is? And it's not even the Super Bowl.
I know, right?
This is a playoff game right now. But...
Okay. All right. Joyti, tell me, because people who aren't seeing us right now, explain to them the jersey you're wearing, your team, what's going on? Because some people listening in their car are like, what is happening, Dave? I have no idea what's happening. What's going on?
Well, when I'm not writing and not an author, I am a 49ers fan. And there is an NFC Championship game. For those of you that don't know NFL, it is the game prior to the Super Bowl. So there's only 4 teams now. 2 are playing at the moment, Niners and Eagles. Go Niners. And later, Chiefs and Bengals will be playing. And whoever wins today from those 4, obviously it's going to be one winner, and that determines the Super Bowl winners. And so downstairs, my entire family is watching the game, and they're going insane because this determines the Super Bowl. And, like, of course, we want our team in it, right? So that's the ruckus downstairs. And like I said earlier to Mr. Campbell, I literally said if it was the Super Bowl, I would have rescheduled, but it's a playoffs game. So, you don't know if you're winning or not. But
No. So we are good. We are cheering for the 49ers. Please, yes, gentlemen, win one for Joyti here, because she, again, is taking time away from the game just to do this. So, Joyti, thank you for making time. Thank you. Really great to have you on the podcast. We've had a chat already, like a little pre-chat before recording, and I just walked away from that chat going, wow, Joyti knows what she's doing. You have, was it 6 books now? Is that correct number?
I have 6 books written. I have 4 books out.
Okay.
Yes.
And when did you start writing?
I started writing in May of 2022 so I started writing The Chaos Within This in May of 2022. But because that was my first book and I was, figuring life out and figuring out how to lay out, how to get a cover art, just everything in general, it took me until October to have that book come out.
So there's a lot to learn as a new author right out of the gate, right? What was some of the hardest things for you when you're like, I didn't know I had to know how to do this as well. I thought I just sit down and write a book and it magically shows up online and people buy it. Like, what part of it was hard for you at the beginning?
Finding an editor, because I didn't know where to specifically look for an editor, and the ones that I did find were like $2,000, $3,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have that kind of money laying around, right? So I actually surprises a lot of people, so I wouldn't be surprised if you have a surprise reaction. But my entire team, which is like different people for different books, but I just say team because they're the people that have worked with me, they have been found on Etsy. My editor, my cover artist, my layout artist, Etsy.
Etsy.
Exactly. That's the reaction
Seriously?
I always get. They're like, whoa, what?
I've never heard anybody say that before.
Yeah.
Etsy.
Seriously. Yeah, my editor, she's amazing. She actually did the chance we took. I had a sample edit from her, and the way she cleaned it up, and I was like, okay, this person's doing my editing, and she has been doing my editing. So, pre-chat, I just told you, that the Contracted Together is ready to go, like the PDF and everything is on KDP, but KDP doesn't let me click February, so I can't give you a release date, but Contracted Together comes out in February.
So, okay, what took you to Etsy to find these people? Did you just stumble in there and see if I can find someone? Because that's not normally a place authors would go looking. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was looking for a cover art, and I was like, where can I find graphic designers? And Contracted Together is the book that is getting the most hype prior to release. Because as soon as I put that cover art out there, so I don't know if you've been to like weddings or anything that say like welcome to the wedding of, and they have like this canvas outside on the easel. And that's kind of what I was looking for. And I was like, well, if I find somebody that can give me that Punjabi representation that I have in my books through like a Sikh wedding also as the cover. So that's what I was looking for. And prior to other books as well, when I started looking at book covers, Etsy started suggesting like editors and like book layout people. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is where I should have started. So The Chaos Within Us is the only book that kind of got like a new layout, new like theme and everything. So if you got a book back in October, it like sucks because it wasn't edited or anything. But now it's like, okay, this book is redone because I know.
Okay, so we talked earlier about your focus for your writing. You're looking at taboo items based on your culture, based on your family, your heritage. And can you kind of bring us up to date on that part of it, so that people understand kind of the source for your writings? Can you talk a little bit about your heritage and that kind of set the stage for a conversation in the podcast here?
Okay, so I am born and raised in California, Central Valley, to be a little more specific, which is like farmland and everything. It's like the California that nobody's heard of. And I grew up Punjab, like I am Punjabi, which is like a state in India, but don't really refer to myself as Indian as much as I refer to myself as Punjabi, just due to like the way India treats Punjabi people and like the way the government has been treating Punjabi people. So, that just being said, I do refer like more Punjabi. And some things that I want to talk about actually take away from what I just said, though. It's complete opposite of what I just said, but is that, oh God, they're so loud downstairs. Sorry. But
no, that's good.
So what was I saying? Oh yeah. I've been in groups. My main audience was first, brown women, or like just the brown community. But then I was like, well, these people already know. So, later just spread out to like everybody that wants to read it. And the reason I started writing it is because I was in like Facebook groups with these women, and it's just women that have been like assaulted or like domestic abuse. I wrote about that in Beautiful Consequence, and the sequel to Beautiful Consequence just came out last week. Actually, it's called Beautiful Mistake. And when you think domestic violence or domestic abuse, a lot of people think it has to do with your partner, with your significant other or your partner. And I did some research into it because I wanted to talk about a lot of things. So not only does it cover domestic abuse in Beautiful Consequence, it also covers things like menstrual cycles, and it talks about Beautiful Consequence and Beautiful Mistake. They talk about like fibroids, endometriosis, just, all that kind of stuff. So I want taking what other women have talked about without like giving them away and seeing like, what is that trend? What is it that constantly keeps being brought up? And I do it through fiction. So in The Chaos Within Us, my debut novel, I covered like hostile environments. And the reason I did that was because I used to have, in 2021, my uncle came with his family and they lived in this house, right? And my own house, like my own place that is my home, had turned into a hostile environment because it was just arguments and cultural clash in a sense. So I turned that into therapy, and therapy I learned like writing. Well, they said journaling. Nobody ever told me go write a book. They just said like write it down. And now I have all these books under my belt, and with Contracted Together coming out in February and Better Than Him coming out in March.
So talk a little bit about the cultural references in the sense that you're addressing some taboo topics that aren't maybe talked about as publicly, right? You're kind of shining a light on these things. Why are these so taboo? That's what I'm curious about from a cultural perspective. Why are these things not so open in public that you feel you need to kind of, expose or bring out into the conversation more? Why are they so kind of not so widely talked about?
I wish I knew. I mean, that same question came up in another podcast too, and the same answer is I wish I knew why people don't want to talk about them. But I feel like with new generation and new changes, people are starting to be more open about it, and that's why if I have a platform like these podcasts or like the shows or anything, right, my books, that is a platform that I have that I'm just like, okay, let's make something out of this, where there are people that are bigger than me in books or in TV or anything, and they can use their platform to make that change, but I don't know why they don't want to.
So why is this important to you? The big picture for all the books you've been writing and working on, if you could give it like a quick summary, why is this really important? You could be writing about anything, but you've chosen this. Why is it important to you?
It's important to me probably because I'm the eldest out of all my cousins on my dad's side, and then I'm the eldest female on my mom's side. So that being said, you just kind of grow up protecting in a sense, like my brother or like a younger cousin, right? Where I'm just like, okay, well, that's not right, or you're doing this wrong or whatever. And just seeing it kind of growing up in a sense, it's just, if I have an opportunity, I want to take that opportunity. And also having free time. A lot of people don't do anything with their like free time, because right now I'm like still job hunting, because being an author is not like a full-time job for me. But since I had that time, I was like, well, if I can do something, I want to do something. And in a sense, like I'm trying to make a name for myself. I'm still like barely starting, so like very local. And hopefully one day I'm on like Good Morning America and kind of letting people know like, hey, this is not okay. The way that people treat females, for example. Let's use divorce, because I use divorce as a taboo topic in my book, in The Chance We Took, right? And that book has come out in December. It's already out in December 2022. It came out. And one thing I picked up on is, in our culture, is people will always blame the woman for the divorce, regardless of if it is the guy's fault or not. Because in the brown community, the son is like the prince and very special and this and that, to the point where if with your in-laws, right, you see, okay, so say that there's a daughter and a son, right? So if the daughter's married, the mom sees her son-in-law, like, treating her so well, like, oh, that's how, like, you should care for your wife and this and that. But if her son cares about his wife, then the mom is like, oh, you ruined my son. He doesn't listen to me. He listens to you, this and that. So obviously it's always like, oh, it's your fault, kind of. I wouldn't say stereotype, but just things I've picked up on.
Yeah, I can see that. So what kind of response are you getting back from readers that have purchased your books or found you? Any comments coming back and you're like, well, that's nice. I never would have thought that, or maybe somebody just reached out to give you some comments. Anything coming back to you from readers?
So on Goodreads, actually, a lot of people, love the character Ryan in The Chaos Within Us, and I really don't know why it is. But if you open Goodreads, that's like the number one thing I remember, because I actually just held a giveaway after The Chaos Within Us was republished, I guess you can say. Just, it had its makeover. And the person that won the giveaway, she reached out to me. She just had a few questions and everything. And then she's like, oh, by the way, I love Ryan. And I'm just like, yeah, apparently everybody does. I'm like, I don't know what I did with him, but everyone does. So that's positive feedback is one of my characters. And with my debut novel, seeing people say that it's not just Mithi and Abhi that are relatable characters, it's also the secondary characters. So anybody in that book, you can relate to them one way or another. And I didn't want that to determine how I made my next books, but I hold giveaways for all my books once they are out. And I go in order. So the second book was Beautiful Consequence. And the winner, she just posted on her Instagram account, her review of the book, along with the fact that Ria's story made her cry, which was about that domestic violence. Because backtracking, I got so off track, but backtracking to that domestic violence was Ria was abused by family and not just your partners. And that's one thing I wanted to put in there is domestic abuse starts at home.
That's okay. I love that you're creating this world and you're able to talk about different topics, but all under a general theme, right? About exposing these taboos and getting a message out to help people. Do you see a finish line for these books, or do you see them just continuing to come out as you focus on a new taboo area that needs to be exposed?
I'm done writing. Temporarily done writing for right now because I have released, October, November, December, January, February, March. 6 books, 6 months. You're shaking.
Wow.
But April is my birthday, so I kind of just wrote in the sense that I can say, in the future, when I'm 30 or something, I can be like, oh, I wrote all 6 books when I was this age.
Okay. Yeah.
So, my goal was only 4 books, which is why in Beautiful Mistake, all my characters come together. Cause that was it, right? That was the end goal.
Yeah.
So you see characters from The Chaos Within Us, you'll see characters from The Chance We Took, from Beautiful Consequence, everybody is in. Well, obviously the characters of Beautiful Consequence are in it, it's a sequel. So the characters from The Chance We Took and The Chaos Within Us are in it too. Then, my sister said, what does it feel like to be the unsuccessful big sister? That triggered the 5th book.
That would do it.
And 5th and 6th book are more fun. Just I had fun with those books in a sense, I just wanted to write kind of what she said. But my therapist said I shouldn't put her in the acknowledgements because then it's too public, and I'm just damn, I wanted to be like, thanks for being the villain in real life. Now I can make you a villain in real life. But it wasn't that public, and I was like, okay, cool.
Well, you're hearing it here, so there you go. So
fun, yeah,
but you heard it on a
fun,
podcast.
like enemies to lovers, arranged marriage books.
Interesting. Okay, so there is the potential for writing in the future. Then we're not saying no, right?
We're not saying no. Oh.
Okay.
The goal now actually is my high school econ and government teacher is retiring, which is also one reason I pushed to have all these books done before April. Because I'm actually like wanting to gift her all the copies before she retires. Because when I took my first debut novel like to the library, I gave one to the middle school and to the high school and like signed it and everything. She was at the library and she's like, so have we talked to publishers? And I was like, well, no, because these are important topics to me. And what if they say no? And she said, well, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And so that kind of motivates me now after Better Than Him comes out in March, right when that book releases, I'm going to start reaching out to publishers and be like, hey, this is what I read about. Are you interested in any of these books? Right. So, she's the motivation for that as well.
Okay. So you've given us great tips already about Etsy, which I am writing on my paper in front of me to remind me to put that in the show notes, because that was, again, I've never had anybody say anything about Etsy as far as writing. What else can we say to a new author that's writing that has no idea, Jyoti, about how to get started or how to get published? You talked about taking your book to the library. That's smart. What kind of suggestions or top things would you say to somebody new to writing to inspire them to start and get their message out? Because your message matters. You're doing it. So how do we encourage someone else to get their message out?
If you have my first thing is if you have a story to tell it. Somebody is going to pick up the book, right? And if you don't want anybody to read it, don't write it. Simple as that. Even if it's a sentence in the book where you're just like, oh, I should have not said that, or I'm just so angry and I need to put this sentence in there, right? It's like, well, if you don't want people to read it, don't read it. And one thing I'm actually doing as well, I have it at the middle school and the high school libraries, but I also reached out to the public library and asked them if I can do like a book signing or if I can donate my books to you guys. Cause I'm like, I was born and raised here. So it's only fair that the branch, has my books. Cause I'm not going to go all around the county and be like, here's my book, where I feel like it's more special having that book here in my hometown. So
what was the response?
Sorry?
What was the response from the libraries then as you come in with a book in your hand?
So they have actually never had like a book signing ever. I would be the first one. Yeah, they told me. I was like, so how does this work? And they're like, I don't know. Nobody's ever done this. So, yeah.
Okay.
So we're trying to figure everything out together, and she's trying to get like this contract ready because on public property that's like community, you cannot sell your books there. So if it's a book signing, I can't sell them. And I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to do that, because if you go to a book signing or you go to like a meet and greet or anything, you usually have a copy with you of that album or that book or anything. So whoever's coming, they better have like something for me to sign. And my cheapest book right now is at $12, which is Beautiful Mistake, because that's the sequel. And for you to understand the sequel, you would have had read Chaos Within Us, Beautiful Consequence, The Chance We Took. Otherwise, you're just spoiling those books for yourself, right? So that's why that book is the cheapest, because you would have already invested in the others.
That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
Sequel, yeah, so that's another thing. If you're writing a sequel and you're combining characters, put that sequel at the low price, because people are going to want to go for the low price. And then if they're intrigued by the characters, they'll go back maybe. And I mean, yeah, they'll have their spoilers and stuff, but they'll go back and probably pick up a copy of one of your other books that you have wrote or books you've written.
It's great. So Joyti, how does everybody find you? How do people connect with you? Where are you most active in the world online so people can kind of head in your direction?
I'm sorry, you know what I almost just said? I was like, you could find me at the Niners game.
Yeah.
I almost said that, but no.
You
you can find me at Niners games. I'm there. But you can find me on Instagram at GEET is booked. So it's Geet is booked. My website is geetwrites.card. So 2 R's, CARRD.co. And my website, sincerelygeet.card.co. I just said that, didn't I?
Yeah.
I just repeated myself.
There you go. You want to make sure everybody knows.
Yeah. And I have a mental health website, which is called sincerelygeetmh.card.co.
Nice.
So, so I just want to, like I said, I've been saying I do my book giveaways on Instagram at Geet is booked. So if there's a new book coming out, there's going to be a giveaway. And sometimes they're US and Canada based only, and sometimes they're worldwide. And the reason that they are limited was to US and Canada is because I had somebody in Poland that won. Spent $25 on shipping, and only for it to come back to my house. And it's like, okay, cool.
Well, that's good. There you go. Okay. Well, I love the idea of having a giveaway around your book to raise awareness of the book coming out. I like that you're communicating with your audience. That's really important. Doing podcasts. Yeah. Thank you for, being part of our podcast, taking time out of the game. I can't believe you're doing this. But Joyti, thank you for being part of the podcast. And I would love to have a conversation with you in the future and have you back to talk about your writings whenever you have something to talk about, you want to promote. You have an open door to come back, okay?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And thank you for writing about some topics that need attention, that will help people. Because, again, you could write about anything. You could write about the 49ers. Yeah. You could write about anything, but you chose to write something to help people, and that's to be commended. Yeah. So thank you for picking that up and helping people with your writing.
Thank you. And I do just want to say one thing is, for indie authors, for self-published authors, reviews matter so much, and promo matters so much. So if you do pick up a copy of my book, please go on Goodreads and please leave a review, because that's where people, they tend to go check out the reviews. Because Book Talk and Instagram, they'll just hype up the popular books and what's trending. So having those reviews is very important to indie authors.
Excellent advice. And I would love to encourage everyone, anytime you buy a book, especially when you buy Joty's book, you go and give those reviews and show your love, right? And do it for the 49ers is what I would say.
Yes. Yeah, do it for them.
and Joty. But for the 49ers, go team, go. And I know, Joty, you got to get back to the game, and I want to get you back there. Thank you for making time for me on probably a very important and pivotal day. We're all cheering, and those listening in the future will know the results of today. But as of right now, from what you can remember, what was the score when you came upstairs? Came up to record?
7-0 in favor of the Eagles.
But there was cheering. There was
cheering, but I didn't go downstairs and check why there was cheering. But we also have so we've had 2 quarterbacks that have been injured this season. So Brock Purdy's playing, and he hurt his wrist prior to me coming up. So I'm just like, okay, cool. We're on our 4th quarterback of the season now, and it's playoffs. And I'm just like, really? Purdy led us into the playoffs undefeated, and now I'm just like, oh god. Okay, let's see what happens when I go back downstairs. Let's see if he's back. Let's see if it's still Jackson playing.
So, Joty, if something happens, you could step up and fill in, right? You could go play. You could quarterback.
The funny thing is, I just told my brother this. I don't know if you watch wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
WWE or...
Yeah.
You do? Yeah. So last night was the Royal Rumble, and I just told my brother this literally today. I said I would last, he's like, put me in, and I was like, bro, we would last longer in the Royal Rumble than we would in a game like that.
I love it.
Yeah. And last night's Royal Rumble was just amazing. Best pay-per-view so far.
There you go. So you got lots of sporting stuff we've added at the end of the podcast. So if you're a sports fan, if you're a 49ers fan, you need to go buy all of Joty's books. I don't care what you have planned today. You need to go buy them all because we got to support a fellow fan.
Yeah, my Contracted Together talks about my book Contracted Together talks about sports, but it doesn't mention any teams because I don't know how the legality of that works to mention teams and stuff. Because I've seen people, sports books that I've read, like the cheat sheet and stuff like that, they make up a team name, and so I'm just like, so I really don't know the legals behind that.
Yeah,
which is also something if you're a new writer, you might want to figure that out too.
Yeah,
so.
Awesome. Joey, thank you.
I don't even mention like candy or I didn't mention a Twix though. The only thing I ever mentioned that is real is like Twix, and that's it.
I love Twix. I think I just had a Twix today. This is awesome.
I love Twix. Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. Okay, Joey, thank you for being on the podcast. You got to get back to the game. I got to get you back there. Again, all the links in the show notes for everybody. Go check out Jody's books. Jody, thank you for being on the podcast, and we will talk again. Okay.
Yes, hopefully. My goal is to reach out back to any and everybody in April when all my books are out and you guys have read it. You can, if you want, I can send you a PDF copy of it and then we can actually talk the book. Beautiful.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I love it. Get back to the game, Jody.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you. All right. All the links in the show notes, everybody. Go check them out. Thank you, Jody. Okay, well, thank you for being here on Living the Next Chapter. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We enjoyed having you here on the podcast. Our authors are amazing. I hope you appreciate their time, their effort to make this possible. If you know an author, if you want to recommend an author, that's a good idea. Hey, if there's an author that you really would love to hear about or hear from, if you tell me, if you send me a message, you speak pipe on our website, livingthenextchapter.com, send me an email, go over to livingthenextchapter.com, send us a message. We will forward your message to that author and say, listen, you are being requested to be on Living the Next Chapter. Our audience can't wait to hear from you. You can help shape the show. Yeah, you. You could do that right now, actually. You got a minute, right? Okay, how about you do that? livingthenextchapter.com. I'll see you over there. Recommend an author. Yeah. See ya. Thanks.
Mindshift Power Podcast, the podcast for teenagers and those who work with them. There's a huge problem in America today. There's a very large disconnect between teenagers and the adults who work with them. I'm looking to bridge that gap with real, raw, honest conversation, not held back by the chains of political correctness. You cannot solve a problem you do not understand. Want to understand teenagers today? Listen to this podcast. This podcast is for teens in the U.S. and Canada. To learn more, go to fatimabay.com/podcast or just look for Mindshift Power Podcast on any listening platform. I look forward to you being a faithful listener.